So do I need to write lists so you can write your list? Is that what you're saying?
On today's Creators Pod, we talk about balancing our schedules and how we create content around all the other things we do in our life. We talk about the importance of scheduling and me time, avoiding distractions, and the different tools that we use. Enjoy. All right, so we're going to dive into talking about how we do stuff. That's really specific. How do we manage our individual workflows, recognizing that, some of us have day jobs. For some of us, this is our day job. For some of us, we have given ourselves 2 day jobs because we're idiots. So how are we actually organizing our content creation flows, our business flows all together along with the rest of our lives? Because I've heard that people have them. People have lives. Does anybody want to chime in on this having a life thing? Because I don't have any firsthand experience.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about because I'm on team no sleep. Okay. Literally, I am I need toothpicks to keep my eyes open, and it's not healthy. So I need to definitely come up with a plan because this right here, okay, these kind of bags I like. No, I don't. These kind of bags I don't like. The kinds that I do like are like Prada and all those other ones, but these right here, oh, bitch, no.
You're done. No. You're done. Well, we can always turn to our preeminent organizer in the group, the one from whom we take all of our disciplinary inspiration from, Mr. Johnson. Pumpkin, do you have something to...
Oh, Mr. Johnson's my father.
I was going to go somewhere, but I was like, no, I'm just going to shut up.
So with my content creation stuff, it was always done as a sort of very much a side thing that I was doing in the mornings. So my workflow would be wake up, make a video and post it. And that's what I was doing on YouTube for, I suppose, the first sort of year. Not really finding a lot of time for anything else around that, just sort of fitting in, answering comments and things like that. I suppose it was more towards the beginning of this year, in the first few months, that I started taking it, not taking it more seriously. I've always taken it seriously, but just sort of allocating more dedicated time to it, and trying to get into, it was actually Rich was the first person who said to me, have you ever thought of just actually making videos in batches rather than just doing them one at a time? Because it's obvious really, but the reason for me doing it one at a time initially was just to do this whole sort of one video every day and fit it in. But now I'm trying to be more structured about it and actually batch things. And I've now created the ultimate planning system for my content. I just haven't started really using it yet. So I've created this framework, which is that, I've got certain days blocked out for things. So like Monday is for recording video content for YouTube. Tuesday is when I record my courses, because I've got a lot more of those sort of planned out as well. I want to do more written content, so having that on Friday, Thursday for just sort of scheduling stuff out through the week. So I've created this sort of framework, and I suppose I have done some of the work up front in terms of getting everything scheduled using Radar, so I can schedule out posts. So I am posting consistently on all the platforms. It just still hasn't really bedded in yet because I've just still had a few other things like rushing out my Roadcaster course and some other things that I've just been really focused on in the interim. But
do you have your calendar wide open for consulting calls, or do people only call you on certain days of the week?
It's only certain block times. They can be there is availability every day, but it is only certain times. And also there's a limit of 2 hours a day. So I never do more than 2 hours a day of that because I don't want my calendar to just get full up with that. But that does, that is several days a week. There'll be stuff booked out for that though. And some people where I'm doing it where they're, booking up in advance for, a month or 2 months every week or every 2 weeks or whatever. So that does get filled up as well, I suppose.
So if you do, for example, whatever Monday's YouTube day, 2 hours on YouTube, an hour call, another 2 hours on YouTube, is it hard for you to switch around between them?
Not really. As I say, I've not really started getting the whole recording YouTube videos bedded in yet because I've been doing my the other podcast and things like that has been what's been going out on my YouTube channel. But the way that I make my videos anyway, I always used to do them in kind of like half an hour. It was just wake up in the morning, come down, decide what I'm going to film the video, and then it's done. And then I don't find the issue with sort of jumping back and forth because I do them quite quickly anyway. I don't. It sounds terrible to say I don't put a lot of thought into them, but what I mean is I don't spend a long time sort of planning them all out. I know what I'm going to cover, and so
listen,
I just sit
that's
down and make
a problem. A lot
of
of us have is that we needle stuff. We just we got to tweak it, and so that's kudos to you to be able to get past that and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something I picked up from you and other people that I was actually scheduling events with. So, for example, when I signed up to do your live stream backstage podcast and the recording and signing up with the people, I'm like, oh, they have very set times in which you can do these things. I should do that too, because between Discord for Creators and FH Umpires and other things, I was like, sure, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., you can book with me if the time is available. And then people would come to my calendar. So I use Fantastical for all of this, and people would book whenever it suited them, which is fine. And I was constantly getting these calendar invitations, and I was like, oh no, not that time, because I knew that my rhythm didn't fit with that. But I was the idiot who had it all open. So now I've said, no, on these days, I set aside these 3 hours for FH Umpires, these 3 hours for Discord for Creators. And of course, they don't always get booked, but I've been much more specific, and it's made me a lot happier because I have more control over when I'm doing certain tasks. And Rich, I think that's a really good point is, okay, for some of us, maybe switching back and forth from things is really great, but that's a real problem for me. Like, I'm starting to understand just how bad I am at switching from a creative task to something that's more editing, something that's more scheduling, marketing stuff. Like, I'm not good at it, so I got to be better.
What I think about this as well is if you've got it, if I've got it booked out in advance, so if somebody can't book a call with me, for example, for like in 2 hours time, there's always a 24-hour buffer in any case. So I always know that. The thing that I find most disruptive to my any workflow is interruptions, and so my phone is perpetually on Do Not Disturb, except for very my friends and family and people like that. Nobody can actually get through to me just by calling. And in fact, even friends that can't just sort of directly call for most of the time. So those disruptions, even if it's just like a little notification that you look down at Facebook or you get a little text message or something like that, it switches you out of your work frame and you have to come back to that sort of frame of mind. And I find that like a minute distraction can actually cost me 15 or 20 minutes in terms of lost momentum. And it's that lost momentum that I think people don't think about. So like my family know that although, I'm here all day long, if I'm in here doing something and the door's not open, then don't come knocking unless it's obviously important or anything, because it can just ruin the whole flow. And so you end up losing hours a day from things like that.
Yeah, I definitely know the feeling, because when you're in the zone, you're in the zone. And, dadgum TikTok or anything on social media or my watch. I need to take the watch off, because even though everything is on Do Not Disturb, I'd get a notification on my watch and then I'm like, oh, what's that? Then I open the phone and then it's like, then you're down the rabbit hole and you're like, crap, I just lost it. What was I doing? I've been doing that constantly writing this last book. And so it's like, oh my gosh, it's just so difficult because, I have to be inspired to write. And once I'm inspired, it's like, oh, okay, great. Then I'm prolific. But when I'm not inspired and I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit here and just kind of just bang it out. It takes a longer time, and it's really easy to get squirrel syndrome doing that. So I don't know.
I'm in the horrible habit in my day job of letting my email be my to-do list, which is it's miserable because everything that comes into fire. I am pretty good at organizing email. I have smart mailboxes set up that if it arrived today or yesterday or the day before, and so I know what's kind of left over from the day before that I have to mess with. But I can't break away from that in the middle of the day and edit or record or anything like that just because there's something else. But my business is deadline driven. If I don't reply to somebody by 12:30 on a certain day, then I miss a ship date and I miss an event, and somebody gets pissed. And so we got to kind of live and die by that. So
is there anything else that you use for your to-dos other than your email, or is that literally it? That's
it's my email and my calendar. That's it.
Okay.
I've tried to block out times of day, like when there are live streams that I want to pay attention to, or podcast things that are, or virtual events that I'd have something to do with, or meetings. Those all go on a calendar, and so those are blocked out. And I don't ever get, even though in my signature in my email I have book a call with me on Zoom or something. Nobody ever does it. I mean, they could, and it's there's one certain calendar in my computer that's in my setup that's allowed for that, but that's also the one that I block all my time with. But yeah, I just never get those calls.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I don't think it's necessarily fatal if you're using your email for your to-do list. If everything goes in your email, so for example, if there's something that you want to do that isn't coming from a client, but is something like you have to do your accounting. If you sent yourself an email saying, accounting today between 3 and 4 p.m. or something like that, I'd be like, oh, that's a good use of your email as a to-do list. That makes sense to me.
The hardest part is that I'll get an email from somebody and I have to ask somebody else because I'm the guy in the middle. And so I can't respond directly to anything without getting an answer. So then it just hangs around. Now I flag it. I got to reply to this later. So now my email, like I have 20 emails from today that I haven't replied yet because I'm waiting on answers from other people. So whether it's a client to approve something or a supplier to say, yes, we can, or no, we can't. So,
yeah. Do you filter those into some other view or something? So once you flag them, can you take them away from your immediate, maybe that's the next step for you is using the flags to create smart mailboxes. Cause I do that where I have different smart mailboxes on different conditions so that I can be in a view that clears out all of the, for example, all the subscriptions I get from all of the content creators that I'm following and learning from. I filter all of those into an inbox that just get out of my actual inbox because you're distracting and I don't need to see that.
I've got that too. Anything that's fluff like that goes away. I don't see that.
Right.
The only thing I see in my main inbox is work stuff, is actual revenue stuff that affects the bottom line. So,
yeah, but if you had something that if you flagged it and it goes into a deferred or waiting on smart mailbox, and then you've got a smart mailbox which is stuff I'm doing today.
Yeah, maybe that's something I need to look at.
It's a small step, but it might make you feel a lot more in control, right?
Right. Well, it's not that I feel out. I know that there's 20 things, so it's not like I'm out of control. It's hard to, nobody cares as much about the shit as I do. It seems like sometimes it's so frustrating.
That's why we do what we do. Yeah. How do you manage it, Dee? Because you've got your content creation, you've got a pretty demanding full-time job, you've got volunteer stuff going on. What's your system?
I seriously have a piece of paper a week where I write down the things that need to be done. I've tried electronic to-do lists. I loved ClickUp for the while that I was on there, but I was not consistent with it. And I've never been able to find myself something as consistent as the piece of paper. I think for me, a lot of it has to do with I'm not near a computer or in a place where, I'm cooking or whatever. So my hands are filthy. So a computer isn't, or excuse me, not filthy, but, cooking.
Yeah.
They're not computer appropriate. So just having that piece of paper and a pen has worked for me, even for the work stuff. So if something crosses my mind while I'm stirring the pot or I'm out in the garden, I can quickly write it down and not feel like, oh, got to go find a computer, got to go put it in my phone or something. So that's what's worked. Is it stressful? Yes. Is it perfect? No. Will I figure it out? Absolutely. Just don't know when. So I don't feel like I drop things. So that's one part, but it doesn't, I can't say that it does anything to make my use of time better. The other thing that I did about 15 years ago was I stopped enabling voicemail. So if you call me, it'll ring and ring and ring, and it says this person has not set up an inbox.
Oh, that pisses me
Why
off
would
so
I
bad.
let you leave me a chore? I have my piece of paper. I put my chores on my piece of paper.
I think that about phone calls, to be honest. I think where else would you allow somebody to just come running up to you and say, speak to me, speak to me? That's what I think about phone calls. If you want to get in touch, let's schedule a call. Let's send me an email or whatever. And I check my emails once or twice a day at specified times. And I mean, I appreciate that I'm in a position where I can do that because I don't have a job that's reliant on, or a business that's reliant on, like you, Rich, where you do have to take those. So I appreciate that wouldn't work for everyone. You couldn't just do that
Certainly.
necessarily. But and I have a thing in my email because I have people that, not so much now actually, but before when I was in the construction business, I'd get people that would send me an email saying, give me a call back in 5 minutes. Like, right, well, I'm going to receive this email in 23 hours because I just checked my email an hour ago. So don't send instant messages to me via email. So in my email signature that used to go out for that business in particular, I actually had it, like this is my way that I treat email. This is how I treat phone calls. This is how I treat message and whatever. And these are the different ways to get in touch with me. So, and which one is like the hotline, if there is such a thing?
That's awesome. I was just freaking out if you're watching the audio or the video version of this. I was freaking out because as soon as somebody said, "Don't leave me a chore," that's what I feel. Anything that's video or a voice message that's texted to you, I think is one of the rudest ways to communicate. And here's my rationale for it. This is why I hate volley, Rich. It's
I was
not
about
because
to say
it's not
that's
Discord.
why I hate volley too, because
Exactly.
I'm not going to sit there and listen to a 10-minute guy talking about whatever.
Exactly.
It tells you how
'Cause
much time
there's
is there. A 10-minute video.
Yeah.
You're going to give me 10 minutes of my time to listen to your. It's no good
because you have no way of looking at it and being able to scan it to say, I don't even need to watch this.
Well, you
or I
can.
don't
They
need to
have a
respond to this.
transcription, and you can scan the transcription if you want. But yeah, it's the whole premise.
I mean, now that you've said that, now this has just triggered something in me because I hate those as well, and I could never quite think about why it is.
Oh my
but it's
God,
obviously-
pumpkin's
you can't
triggered.
See you can't. You can't see the content in advance. That is it. It's like,
Yeah. And if you can get a transcription of the video, why not just send the fucking transcription? Is it so important that you see my face when, it's just, it's
That's
so
the idea.
unnecessary.
That's what it is. It's Facebook Messenger with video. It's okay. I mean, different people like different things, and I'm not going to slide them for that. It's just, I don't think it's for me. I have it, and I look at it, but I don't participate much.
Yeah. Asynchronous video messaging makes no sense. It's two things that don't belong together. It's like, I don't know, peanut butter and bacon. You don't need those two things together. It just doesn't make sense.
Sounds
My
great.
stepmother
What
eats
world
that all
do
the
you
time.
live in where you don't need those things together?
Oh boy. Anyway, it was the first thing that came into my head. Okay, I'll find a different example. I like hearing about all this because I have this impression, and this isn't to say that you guys should be more organized, but it's nice to hear that you guys are, being able to make content without having like these seriously built out calendars and plans, because I've always been very intense about how I've organized my time. And this goes back to my university years when I was in law school and I was playing on the field hockey team. It was a challenge. I was the only varsity athlete in law school. And there was a reason for that, because a lot of people you can't do it. It's impossible. So my days were calendar blocked. Every single hour that I was awake was accounted for. Eating, showering, napping, those were all scheduled in amongst, doing this revision work, doing this training session that we had to do, cooling down from practice. Everything was scheduled. And that was the only way I could possibly make it through. So I have this natural pull that, that's where I'm the most productive. I should be doing that. But the consistency in trying to follow these systems that we set up for ourselves that are so complex, sometimes we spend more time doing the system than we do actually doing the work. But one of the things I've been trying to do is to use ClickUp. It's got this function, not to go into the rabbit hole of an actual tool, but I can pull something from my need to do this today, ClickUp, and I can literally drag it down and place it on my calendar in a block. So if I have these things that I have to do today, according to ClickUp, I can pull it into my calendar and allocate the time and then go, I don't have time for that other thing. And then I change the due date for that so that I'm not trying to overschedule myself. If I can do that more than twice a week, I'm feeling really organized in a given week.
Is that ClickUp calendar, is that calendar built into ClickUp, or is it your Mac calendar, or is it something else?
It synchronizes with Google Calendar. And then I use a combination of syncing all the Gcals into my Mac OS calendar. It's if you asked me to map it, I couldn't do it for you, but somehow it all works. So let's not get all particular.
But ClickUp syncs with it. It starts with ClickUp and then it changes everywhere else. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's very valuable.
Trello does the same thing for me. As far as it goes with the content creation piece, I've gotten so good at, it's shows on Sunday. What do I need to do? I have this whole list of stuff that has to happen, and once I put the due date on it, then it's like, oh yeah, you remember you got to do all this stuff. But I've gotten it down so well that I could do it in one day as opposed to like spreading it out. Really, I should try to spread it out. But it's really helpful because, I can schedule all that stuff or whatever. And so just like how ClickUp works for you in that respect, I can do that with the Trello board. The only thing is I have a lot of stuff on that board. It's a lot. And, of course I have a day job and I can't be doing stuff on my day job, so I have to, worry about the time at the end, at the end of the day. And, me like a dumbass, I my time is open on my Calendarly. So like if you want to book a time, it's that same time that I have to actually do the other stuff. So now what I need to do is really, really consider this block time business. So that I can then figure out, okay, well, it'll be easier, but then at the same time, when you're beginning, when you're new at this, you're like, I want everybody to be able to reach me, and I want to, find time to like book all the things and do all the things, but we can't do all the things. So this is very helpful for me.
Yeah.
Since we're mentioning tools, I won't go down the whole OmniFocus rabbit hole either. However, what I will say about it is, though, with OmniFocus, it's based on the Getting Things Done system from David Allen, the whole GTD thing. And one of the things about that is context, which is, you're only getting shown the tasks that are available for you to do at a specific, time and place. But how I use those is I also use them as mind frames as well. So if I'm at a particular block of time, but I'm not really feeling up to making a video, there's no point me sitting there thinking, I've got to make a video because I'm in that particular block of time. Whereas if I bring up everything in a particular context, which is like low energy tasks or low concentration tasks, sometimes I just want to fire off a load of stuff. I'm not feeling like I want to be doing anything really mentally taxing, maybe even watching something else on YouTube in the background or something like that, but just be able to fire through a load of kind of mindless tasks. It's good to have those on, in a separate list that you can always sort of come to them. But then equally, the other way around, sometimes it's like things that I really need to just actually sit down and give a lot of thought to. And there's always these things where you think it might be just a single task on your list of, thinking about how to, the next course you're going to create or something. But if you just have like one big task, which is outline course, then you might every time come to it and just think like, oh, that seems like such a lot of work, and you don't feel like doing it. Whereas if the overall project might be outline course, but the next task is just like think about, intro, or think about 5 sections for the course or something like that, then I've got one that is just the context is called Notebook, and it's whenever I'm out and about anywhere, or even at home or wherever it happens to be, maybe in a coffee shop, and I can just click the Notebook one, pull out my notebook, and it's thinking about some specific thing in a sort of small bite-size chunk, basically. And that's how you sort of end up, that you do that a few times, and then suddenly you've had thought about 5 different sections where you've had that sort of time to focus on it.
Have you ever thought about scheduling that? Because now I'm thinking in my squirrel brain, oh, that's a really great thing to replace these stupid notifications with. So I could send myself a notification or block time to do things like that, and that be my notification. So I'm like, oh, this is a great time. I can go ahead and just do that real quick. Have you ever thought about?
Yeah, but again, that comes that comes back to, if I schedule something now, how do I know on Friday at 12 p.m. I'm going to be in the right frame of mind to do that? So whilst I was talking at the very beginning about having some loose blocks of time to do things, where I'm saying, right, well, on Monday, I generally want to think that that's what time I'm going to dedicate to just making videos, and Friday for scheduling or writing or whatever it happens to be. But there are always those times where you just think, like, oh, do you know what? I've done 3 hours work. I've got another hour before I'm going to go off somewhere else. I don't really feel like getting into anything deep. Or maybe it's just I've got one list, which is I mark a time for how long the task is going to take. And I don't do that for everything, because otherwise you end up spending time thinking, right, let me calculate how long it's going to take. But if I know something's like less than a minute or less than 5 minutes to do, I'll mark it like that, so that then I've got a whole list of stuff which is, really quick tasks that I can just like fire off. And then if I've got 30 minutes at the end, I can just go flying through some of those. Then, that's the way I approach that.
The other calendar thing that I do is, because my work day, my corporate work day is just meetings after meetings after meetings, I have to be really careful with if there is something personal or content creator stuff that is going to take time that I must do on it at a certain time. I actually add that to my work calendar, but I don't add it directly in work. I'll put it in my personal calendar and I'll invite the corporate Dina to that meeting. So then it blocks that calendar time, and I only have to delete it in one place. And that does help, because it does look like, and I don't do it that often. It's more like for physical therapy or if there's a doctor appointment, that kind of thing. But it does send the signal that this time is allocated to a coworker when they want to schedule a meeting. So that's one of the ways that I'm able to balance all of the volunteer work and the content creation and then corporate.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great technique. I need to make more appointments with myself, I think. Block myself off my own calendar.
There's something to be said for that. There's something to be said for taking time for yourself in the middle of the day. Like I used to eat at my desk all the time, and I try not to do that anymore. And I just try to go find a table and find somewhere else to sit and read something or whatever. Read something that's paper, not even read on the phone. It's I don't know. It's hard to force yourself to do it if you're not used to, if you're used to answering emails while you're eating lunch. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you guys all know, because how many times do I show up in, our various voice channels, and I'm always eating, because I have to eat at some point, and I'm with you at some point. So I think about that on a regular basis. Like, do these guys ever see me when I'm not eating? And it's because I'm shoehorning everything in, and sitting down for a meal just doesn't, except for Saturday nights, it doesn't exist for me. I got to fuel myself while I'm working. That's how I've approached it, and it's not very healthy. Sorry.
It's really not. And you really should take time, at least 30 minutes, and just step away from everything and just turn on the radio or something stupid. Use it.
Yeah. The one thing that I have done is going for my hour-long walks. So
yeah.
I think you guys have noticed, and there'll be times where I'm talking to Dee in a voice channel. I'll be like, oh, got to go for my hour-long walk because I got something an hour. I got to go now. And she's like, bye. And I listen to podcasts. I listen to Alec. I listen to, I listen to our own stuff. I listen to everything while I'm out there. And the creativity and the deep thought that I'm able to do, even though I'm listening to somebody else talk about ideas of community, suddenly I'm thinking about Web3 and I'm getting these amazing ideas. And just having that time has made a big difference in my brain over the last, it's been 4 months I've been doing that. So at least I'm doing that, but I don't know how to not listen or learn when I'm doing something like walking, which is kind of interesting.
Do you need to, though?
Do I need to what? Not learn?
Yeah.
I've heard that. I mean, if that's walking is a good idea.
I think that there's something really therapeutic about walking, and you do get those sparks of ideas and things like that. And I always listen to stuff when I'm walking as well.
Okay.
I used to do it all the time.
I've constantly got something in my ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of my happy things to do. It's been a while. I have to get back into the swing of things to do that again, because not only do you get your exercise at the same time, it's just, I'm usually walking in the woods with the dog, and it's usually something very lovely, and it's just a way to just kind of step away from all of the crazy that's always happening. So
Yeah.
thanks for reminding me of that. I really do need to do that.
And that's one of those things that when I decided it was important to me, I time blocked it. There is an hour walk. And when the weather was better, it was in the morning. But now walking in the middle of the day is a lot better. And now that winter's here. So I've put it at 2:00 every day. And then I just move it around as my calendar dictates. Today it snowed a ton, so I haven't made it outside yet, but I'll get there because I don't want to miss this. I don't want to miss out on what it's brought me in terms of my enrichment and the ideas and the way I'm able to sort through all the things that I'm learning from you guys. It's been, hugely helpful, but you have to block that out too. I just don't do things like block out meditation time or bubble bath time, or that stuff doesn't exist for me.
I'll tell you what, that is one thing I started doing a long time ago, is getting up at 5 if I can, or 5:30. And because the first 2 hours of the day are me time, just me. Nobody's up, nothing, just me and the coffee pot and whatever. That's it.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about the whole, get up super early because that's what all the successful people do, and you can't make it on the fast track unless you're one of those people? How do you feel about that doctrine or belief system?
I don't like other people's belief system dictating what time I get up.
Yeah, D.
I was just going to say, I get really early just because that's what works well for me.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not going to do it
early
because someone else says.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to get up early because I have to be at work at 7 a.m. So 5 o'clock is my that's when the alarm goes off. But if I were to incorporate me time, that means I'd have to get up 3 o'clock in the morning, which means I should go to bed at a decent time. My problem is I go to bed at like midnight. Then I get up at
If I see the clock get to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, any time after that is fair game for me going to bed. So
Yes.
If I see it's like it's after 6, it's like, right, okay, then any time is good with me now.
It's amazing that your family, your wife and kids are good with that, but I guess, are they on that schedule too?
Well, so so Dale goes to bed a similar time to me. It's usually, to be honest, it's usually like more like 7 to 8 that'll go to bed, and then sometimes after 8 or 9. But Dale goes to bed at the same time. So, I mean, that's partly how it all started. To be honest, was I always used to be someone who was up really late at night, and so I'd just work through the night and then go to bed, and then get up, a normal time. But it was when I had kids that I was going to bed the same time as them, and taking them to sleep and that. So I suppose that's when it really started. That flip things round. Whenever that was, 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
That's one thing about successful people starting early, Keely. Alex Hormozy did a thing where he gets up at 5 and doesn't take any meetings until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So he has a full day of work before he takes any meetings with anybody,
that's the thing with me. It's that uninterrupted time. That's the reason why it works for me, is because coming back to that whole thing of just like one single interruption can cost you so much. Whereas if I get up at 3 and I do, I have my coffee and meditation, and then 4 o'clock is when I start, and then the kids, are getting up at 7. So that's, when they get up to go to school or whatever. So it means I've got that 3 hours that is uninterrupted time, and that is worth nearly a full working day for me, to be honest. That sort of time. I've shifted things around now that I'm starting to do things in that time, like this and my other podcast and whatever. But it's just an amazing part of the day where nobody's interrupting me.
Maybe that's my problem. That early in the morning, even if I got up at 3 in the morning, that would not be uninterrupted time, because a big chunk of my people that I'm working with, they're already awake because they're in Europe and the UK. So honestly, I can get up. If I got up at 1 a.m., I start getting messages from people. the time for me that is uninterrupted is from 5 p.m. until, 11. That is my most creative, most deep work sort of time, because that's when Europe's asleep. And I'm thankful for that. It's the best. And most North Americans are like, okay, now it's private time. So maybe
that's why I think the whole
thing.
morning thing is nonsense. It's whatever works for you. It works for me because that's how it works for me. It works for you because that's how it works for you. I don't think you should feel like, all these people are saying we should get up early. That's nonsense.
I was just about to say that, because you guys know I'm a nurse, and I've been a night shift nurse for, 15 years. And so my circadian rhythm is just attuned to that. I have always been productive at night. I know when my time is. That's when I'm prolific. That's why I want to stay up. I want to stay up. Me having a job where I have to get up and go to work in the daytime? Are you kidding me? I make myself do it, but my most creative time is always at night, and it always has been. So, I work when, once again, the inspiration hits. The inspiration for me always hits somewhere between 12 o'clock and 3 a.m. Most prolific time.
Amazing.
So,
I just realized something. A lot of my lists are organized by time of day and location. So in the summer, I get up early and I try to get all the outside work done as fast as I can, because I don't know what the weather's going to be like.
Right.
Or if I'm stuck in the kitchen for something, like if there's a meeting that I can be off camera and muted and just, read the document real quick and then listen in on the conversation, I can get kitchen stuff done without, detaching. So that's something I didn't really realize I did. Although last week's list, it actually has K and G different location codes. So that's another way that I do stay organized, I guess, is knowing what has to be done first if the rain comes or if the power's out.
You've got your own OmniFocus going on, is what you're saying. Your own.
I don't know how
OmniFocus by paper.
By the way, just to come back to the paper, just very quickly, my OmniFocus, I still write down on a list everything that I'm doing in the day. So OmniFocus organizes it for me, and then I've got a context which shows me what my list is for today, and then I write that down and close OmniFocus. So I do like to have it on a paper thing so that I don't have to constantly have something open on the screen or stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I can't do that at all.
There's one piece we didn't touch on, but I think we've all kind of said it in one way or another, is Keely, when we're talking in the afternoon and you got to go for a walk, I know how important that is. And it's just done. Alec, when that door is closed, your family knows, this is the time that you're focusing. I think for all of us, probably Saturday class time, everyone in our family knows that that's sacred time. Don't try to schedule me for anything. So I think there's something to be said for communicating that important time to the people around you so they can help you succeed.
That's funny. The people around me are always asking, what are you doing Saturday? Like, it's been 2 years. Really? What do you think I'm doing Saturday?
Find different people. No.
Yeah.
Oh, we're all going to brunch at 1 o'clock. You know what? I'm busy at 1 o'clock. I'm not going.
Yeah. You need more C22 friends is what you need.
That's it. Yeah.
But speaking of that, and to wrap it up, I just thought it would be interesting to touch on. We're kind of coming around to the full circle about, how we plan and get things done. And we did start out earlier this year having a weekly accountability thread where we'd say, all right, this is what I'm going to do this week. And we did that in the Discord, and we did that in our group. And we haven't done it for several months. Was that productive for us? Was that helpful? Should we get back to doing that? Or do you think, nah, it didn't do much, we can move on from that?
It added pressure to me.
It was one more status report.
Yeah, it added pressure to me. I always felt bad when I didn't get it done. And I always was making the list, editing the list, because what can I really get done? Instead of the things I should be on the list, this is what I think I can accomplish, so everybody will think I'm good. and it was probably fake. It probably wasn't. I probably wasn't honest with it. Yeah.
That's not how we're supposed to be for each other.
I know. That's why I'm glad this went away, because I don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, it just feels like another status report, and I try not to have my designers have to do them, so why should I do them?
Yeah, for me, the overarching accountability of being with all of you guys, and that is what is the motivation, not like the minutia of every single task is listed down. I know it wasn't ever every single task, but you know what I mean. I didn't need that. Yeah. The accountability that I get and the support that I get is the driving force, not like this is specifically the little things that I'm going to get done. I don't need somebody to hold me to account to that, because I just know that it's got to get done. So
yeah, that's funny. I feel like I must be the only person here that it was helpful to me. Why'd
you stop putting them up?
Because nobody else was doing it.
Oh,
if it's helpful,
I didn't want to pressure you, Rich. I didn't want to pressure you because you just said it was pressure.
You could
too
still
many
put that
cute
up
emojis,
if
man. I couldn't. I was having to format my task list. What's the emoji for this? What's the emoji for that? Gosh, it drove me crazy.
But okay, the part that I liked about it is not that, because you guys didn't ever come back. Okay, Dee sometimes did this at me, but you didn't come back and say, okay, Keely, did you get your stuff done? It was never like that. And I did never feel like I was going to let you down if I didn't complete the list. But it made me do the list. So Dee, the way that you write down, this is what I'm doing this week on your, that was your thing. That made me do that planning. And I haven't done that planning on a weekly basis, which is sort of one of the pieces of a good plan. I need to do that again. So
well,
if it's okay,
do I need to write
in.
lists so you can write your list? Is that what you're saying?
No. So what I'm going to say.
Just to come back to this whole like putting tasks on our calendar, which is a task to create tasks or a task to. I feel the same now about Seshbot. I've stopped even answering that one because this meeting is in my calendar every week. It's a recurring meeting. I've got it in. I don't need to go into Sesh to just say, I'm going to be there, because I'm going to be there. So, and I would rather have like an anti-Sesh, which is basically, if you cannot make it, click this button. Otherwise, don't pop up a notification on Discord saying there's something you've got to do. And so now what it means is I actually don't come into the Creators Pod as much because I just think, it's probably just that bloody Sesh bot. So having that little dot on the thing to say there's something you've got to do or something you've checked up on, and then I'll come in and think, have I missed something? It's like, no, it's just that Sesh thing. And you might think, well, it's only one click. You just got to click the button, go and open it, and click you've accepted it. But it's pointless because I'm going to be here.
It's a distraction.
Week,
yeah,
so
it's a distraction. Whatever you were doing before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've set it up to automatically accept, so it does that for me. But when it does that, it automatically puts it in my calendar, so I don't have to do anything. This is in my calendar recurring.
When we said we were going to do this, I put it in my calendar recurring. But now Sesh is telling me about it as well, and Sesh obviously doesn't know that it's already in my calendar.
Right.
I get when you've got like a bigger group, like where you don't know how many people are going to be there. And so you're putting on a proper event and you want to get that feedback. But when it's just like us or even, C22 group as well, I think it's probably not required. Just stick it in our calendars and we're done.
Okay. I hear that. It'll just come in really handy in those days that we're not going to record because something's happened and whatever.
Exactly. So that's where you need just the exception. If somebody can't make it, let us know you can't make it. The anti-sesh, where it is. It doesn't appear unless you can't be there. So we're looking for exceptions here.
Okay.
Build that bot.
Yeah.
Build that bot. Okay.
What were you going to say about the to-do list?
Do not make me squirrel out on that because you know I will. Okay.
No, it's like challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have mentioned it other than the fact that we are talking about as well these little things that interrupt workflows and interrupt mind frames and all that kind of stuff. It's not like it was a big issue. I'm just mentioning it because it's one of these things you do get lots. It's the same with people who use the @ the @ everyone when they're posting videos and stuff. It actually, if you're someone subscribed to your channel they're going to get the notification. Otherwise, you end up with channels on Discord that have just got lots of notifications because every video that's been posted is at everyone. And it's kind of, or the other thing would be people on Facebook groups where they tag a load of people in a post. That annoys me as well, because you're basically just spamming the person's timeline and you're negating the notifications that they've set up for that Facebook group. So if someone's got a Facebook group, they can decide to get all notifications. But if you just tag like 80 people that are the 80 group members in a post because you just want to draw people's attention to it and they're not actually there at the event or whatever it happens to be, I think that is just rude as well.
Yeah. Well, wow, we've gone down a slippery slope into hell, haven't we? All the way down to Facebook. Oh my God. So what I'm hearing is I got to turn off the sesh event reminder for everybody except myself. I'm going to put my tasks, my weekly things in there. None of you have to do it. In fact, I'll get mad if any of you do it, but I want to do it because it helps me. So
I'll do it too. I'll come back
okay.
to it. I'll start doing it.
Okay.
So you're not by yourself.
But we all have our different ways and our different learnings, and I think that's really awesome that we've been able to exchange all that. So
cool.
Good stuff.
Thanks for hopping into our Creators Pod. If you enjoyed it, we'd love if you'd tell a friend about it and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. The Creators Pod is produced by C22 Media. Dina Taylor, Keely Dunn, Michelle Lawrence, Rich Graham, and me, Alec Johnson.